Nyaje chembor don hingmi jong zoner munum chembor nga dia ta bakar tar ngam san do shermo do tumba tiji jan la ki jom sar ne jan ro zer ngi jang gam zan ja or tiji shan la yelar man jime panzo ja la soran da gon de to ban por shinji lo.
Please, everyone, for the benefit of all sentient beings, give rise to the unsurpassed bodhicitta. During the process of listening to the Dharma, everyone should listen in accordance with proper reasoning and the Dharma. This time, our meditation practice is the Buddha contemplation samadhi, a profound and deeply insightful practice. I plan to explain this comprehensive practice over the course of 4 distinct sessions. Yesterday was the first session, today is the second, and there will also be further sessions tomorrow and the day after tomorrow. Over these few days here together, we will be thoroughly discussing this particular meditation method in detail, step by step. Actually, this kind of meditation practice is now widely found both in the West and in the East today, quite commonly. There are many so-called yoga or meditation practices available to everyone. There are quite a lot of different methods of practice. However, some forms of meditation practiced in the Western world are, in certain significant respects, somewhat different from traditional Eastern practices. This particular method of practice can be accurately called Buddha meditation. It is fundamentally a profound way of meditating that relies entirely and profoundly on the established methods and teachings of the Buddha himself. In fact, this particular aspect should be considered the absolute most important thing. Whether you personally have faith or not, it truly matters. If you consistently and diligently use Buddha meditation to effectively tame your own mind, the results are consistently and remarkably good. We have also thoroughly studied the meditation practices currently being widely promoted in the West. In fact, these are just some individual methods for settling the mind, specifically those found within Buddhism. They are indeed specific methods for calming and stabilizing the mind. It's just that they have been somewhat repackaged and slightly altered, and have now become what is known as meditation or yoga. Nowadays, many forms of yoga originate from India. Actually, what we call yoga in India is pronounced yuega in our language. Mahayoga, Anuyoga, Ati Yoga. There are many distinct categories within the practice of yoga. These are the specific yogic practices found within our Buddhism. This point should be made clear. For example, Tibetan Buddhism has always profoundly emphasized the fundamental and transformative principles of dedicated practice. Our unique Buddhist meditation, in many significant respects, may indeed differ quite substantially from the more generalized relaxation techniques and various methods that people commonly utilize and encounter in contemporary meditation practices today. There might be some differences, but from the ultimate profound perspective, we should truly say that our current methods of meditation are indeed quite effective. Relying on Buddha images, truly relying on the Buddha as our profound and central object of focus, practicing visualization in this dedicated way is extremely important for spiritual development. Of course, as devoted Buddhists, whether you meticulously study Tibetan Buddhism, Han Buddhism, or Theravada Buddhism, within each spiritual tradition, there are indeed various different schools of thought and practice, but all of these diverse schools can effectively use this particular method. This is primarily because our revered ancestral teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, is fundamentally the same and serves as a unifying figure for all of us. Therefore, no matter which specific tradition it is, their core principles are all essentially the same. By relying on this method of visualization, it truly brings about great changes within our own minds. There are significant transformations. Why is it that nowadays, whether it's Tibetan Buddhism, Theravada Buddhism, or Northern Buddhism, some practitioners have indeed undergone great changes? In the past, their minds were undisciplined and incapable, especially those who were rough and simple-minded. But later, through Buddhist methods, after cultivating their own minds, they became like a completely different person, as if they were not the same individual at all. What is the reason for this? It is because the methods we have here are very unique. Therefore, during our important discussions, it is still profoundly necessary for everyone to carefully and attentively study Mipham Rinpoche's profound method of Buddha meditation, in fact, in the Western world, should have been introduced quite some considerable time ago, and its teachings widely disseminated. This occurred probably about 10 to 20 years ago. His Holiness Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche also taught this particular practice. It is said that now, in English, the practice he taught at that time is already widely available. Originally, the White Lotus Treatise had not been translated into English, but this particular section has already been completely translated into English. So some of my own thoughts and some of the ideas of the great masters before me have coincidentally aligned without prior discussion. It is said that Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche placed great importance on this. He felt that if, in the profound and ancient teachings of Dzogchen and Mahamudra, if some practices are particularly difficult to cultivate, then this is a very openly and widely taught tantric practice. It is said that at that time, Venerable Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche had a devoted disciple of Mifam Rinpoche named Rigzin Tangyong, a truly great master, widely known as the holder of the victorious vehicle, from whom he profoundly received this transmission. Afterwards, he extensively propagated this Dharma throughout the Western world. As for us, commencing from the year 2002, we have also, to varying degrees, transmitted this valuable practice to some individuals and communities across the vast expanse of mainland China. This time, we are currently using 4-class sessions. Perhaps 4 sessions is a bit rushed, feeling somewhat constrained. Originally, if we had 7 or even 8 dedicated sessions, it certainly wouldn't be so rushed, and the overall experience might be considerably better and more comprehensive. But I think this time, including everyone present here, there may also be many people of different levels here today. In this way, it is much more suitable for everyone. No matter what situation for any Buddhist practitioner, there shouldn't be any Buddhist who lacks faith in Shakyamuni Buddha. Even for those of us who haven't taken refuge yet or don't really have faith, we still regard the Buddha as a truly extraordinary and very great figure today. He made tremendous contributions to human society. Precisely because of this, people use his methods to train and observe their minds. Although they don't have genuine religious faith, they can still approach it in this particular way. For example, people who do not possess a strong Christian faith or beliefs, some of them also use certain Christian methods to adjust their minds. Actually, this is also very good. Therefore, in this talk about specific meditation techniques right now, I especially sincerely hope that both the monastics and fellow devoted lay practitioners present here with us, I might only be able to explain it once. It seems like I still have a lot more to say, but due to time constraints, I can't express everything. I sincerely hope that our Dharma friends will very seriously and carefully to deeply contemplate the profound Pith instructions of the great Mifam Rinpoche. In this sacred teaching, Mifam Rinpoche generously gives some very profound and essential Pith instructions for all meditators. Moreover, many of the problems that meditators often encounter have already been addressed here. The pertinent questions that we frequently raise in our daily professional practice have already been comprehensively answered here in a very thorough and detailed way. So for those who do not study and reflect properly, there is no need to raise so many questions. As long as you study and reflect well, actually, within these teachings, the answers to our basic common questions have already been given long ago. Next, we will continue with our discussion. Today, we are practicing the profound shamatha and vipassana yoga by deeply meditating on the Buddha. This type of shamatha and vipassana yoga can also be considered a method of meditation. In fact, such a method of meditation is also very important for those of us who aspire to enlightenment. It is indeed very important. The Buddha also spoke about this in the Mahasamnipata Sutra. The Tathagata taught that only through the method of meditation can one progress toward the path of enlightenment. Therefore, one should always delight in abiding in meditation and will swiftly attain great enlightenment. If one relies solely on the method of meditation for practice, one can enter the path to enlightenment. So, if we regularly practice meditation and take joy in it, of course, this kind of meditation, as I mentioned earlier, is a bit different from what is taught in some schools and companies nowadays, where they simply ask you to relax your mind. There is a slight bit of a clear difference between the two approaches. If we carefully follow the specific method of meditation taught here today, then in a very short time, one can also attain the profound and ultimate fruit of enlightenment. So earlier, we extensively discussed some fundamental theoretical aspects and their underlying principles. And now we are talking about how to actually put them into practical application and real-world scenarios. To succinctly summarize the profound teachings derived from the aforementioned sacred scriptures, how should we cultivate accordingly? Because earlier it was perhaps more theoretical. For example, if we contemplate a single Buddha, we simultaneously receive the merits of contemplating all Buddhas of the 3 times. Or when it truly comes to our collective mind, it becomes clear, in the end, it cannot be found either inside or outside. This essential instruction from the perspectives of various scriptures mentioned earlier has been analyzed theoretically. So now, as for how to actually practice, the following method of practice has already been explained. Actually, there is no need for any further elaboration. Just by taking the original words of Mipham Rinpoche, if we can understand them thoroughly and completely, that should indeed be entirely sufficient. This particular translation of mine should be from around this current period, reflecting the most recent understanding. Let me see, if it was in 2002, how many years ago was that? A translation from 17 years ago. But looking at it now, I went back and checked the Tibetan again. At that time, perhaps due to the proofreading process, some individual words were omitted. There were such issues. Other than that, the overall effect is quite clear and easy to understand. So it's fairly acceptable. Of course, so-called translations can never be absolutely perfect. I've seen that even the translators of many great accomplished masters, when their translations are compared with the Sanskrit and Tibetan originals, there are also some omissions, and perhaps some other minor issues as well, including some typos that appeared later during the careful proofreading process. This kind of phenomenon is to be expected, but overall, I personally feel for something actually done more than 10 long years ago, it's still quite pretty decent, I think. First, we should endeavor to generate bodhicitta, which is the altruistic intention to achieve enlightenment, so that all sentient beings may attain true happiness and lasting well-being. Whether we are practicing the meditation of Shakyamuni Buddha, or indeed any other form of meditation, or any other kind of meditation, we should first take refuge and then give rise to bodhicitta. After that, we should contemplate in our hearts like this. Now I have obtained a precious human life, which is so hard to come by, and I have also encountered the teachings and realization of the Tathagata. What this means is that at this time, not to mention worldly and indeed truly inferior matters, even performing virtuous deeds such as making offerings to the Tathagata's form and so on, although these have immeasurable merit, they are ultimately acts of accumulating merit through material means. Therefore, this is what the Tathagata taught to lay practitioners. The meaning is that we should reflect in this way ourselves. Reflect on what exactly? That I have now obtained a human body and have encountered the true Dharma and met a spiritual teacher. At this time, this is indeed extremely precious. So, not to mention significant things like defeating formidable enemies or protecting cherished loved ones in the world, or doing all sorts of farm work, daily housework, and so on and so forth, such trivial matters would only waste our time. Even if we make offerings to the Tathagata's form, creating images of the Buddha, these have vast merit. Ultimately, they are ways of accumulating merit and resources through material means. In fact, indeed, this is precisely what the Tathagata mostly taught for the benefit of lay people, because here, what is being discussed is for monastics, especially the highest form of practice, which is to contemplate the Buddha. The most supreme merit should be for monastics to recollect the Buddha. As for worldly matters, of course, they have no merit at all. Creating Buddha images and making offerings to the Buddha do generate merit, but when this merit is compared to recollecting the Buddha, there is a significant difference between the two. Therefore, monastics should recollect the Buddha. Monastics should uphold pure precepts, just as we have discussed here. They should meditate through inner observation, tranquility, and insight. In this way, we should diligently follow the Tathagata's profound teachings and practice with wholehearted effort and unwavering dedication. Just like in the revered lives of the 8 great bodhisattvas, in the biography of Manjushri Bodhisattva, there is a sutra that says, "In the degenerate age, there will be some monks who only appear to have proper conduct and spend all day using the Buddha's relics as objects of offering. In actual fact, this is not very important at all. What is most important is to truly focus on deeply listening, carefully contemplating, and diligently practicing the profound Dharma. This is precisely what a dedicated monk should conscientiously do. Then it is said that even if the entire 3,000 great thousand worlds are filled with offerings, and these offerings are made to all the Buddhas and Tathagatas, it is still not as meritorious as listening to a verse in front of a qualified spiritual teacher. Therefore, seeking the Dharma is extremely important for us. For lay practitioners, although it is said here that lay people generally rely on, just as it is stated in the entering the middle way, accumulating merit and resources, making material offerings, and creating Buddha statues, whereas monastics should turn inward and uphold pure precepts. Actually, this is generally speaking. In reality, among us lay practitioners, if one has the ability to make material offerings, of course, that is excellent. If one does not have such ability, then perhaps even greater merit comes from inner contemplation, contemplating the Buddha, observing the 8 precepts for lay people, as well as practicing the subtle, calm abiding and superior meditative insight. These practices also generate tremendous merit. Therefore, as dedicated Buddhists, we should wholeheartedly and diligently practice according to the profound teachings of the Buddha. This adherence is indeed very important and holds significant value. How should we contemplate during our meditation? From beginningless time up to today, we have actually been throughout this long cycle of samsara, firmly bound and constrained by all kinds of afflictions or discursive thoughts, tightly entangled and completely caught and thoroughly ensnared already. It's as if we are constantly being battered by fierce and relentless winds, or completely covered by dark and ominous clouds. If swept up by violent winds, we have no freedom. If we are covered by dark clouds, we cannot clearly see. If we are tossed about by huge waves at sea, we have absolutely no control over ourselves. Day and night, we are always trapped without freedom in what exactly? In these deluded appearances of subject and object within samsara, not only have we failed to attain the extraordinary qualities of both worldly and transcendental accomplishments like Manjushri and Samantabhadra Bodhisattvas, but on the contrary, in this world of ours, we are tormented by all kinds of suffering. This is something everyone should be clear about. When we visualize, we should think in this way. I should now practice diligently. Otherwise, since human life is hard to obtain and Dharma rare to encounter, if I spend all my days endlessly entangled in trivial matters, with life being so short, then, when this brief life comes to an end, though I was born in this Jambudvipa and encountered great Mahayana teachers and the authentic Dharma, in the end, when I leave this world, I will have gained nothing at all. I will have nothing to show for it. If that happens, it would be especially regrettable. Just like before, I too have been wandering in samsara since beginningless time. But truly, whether it was the wild winds, dark clouds, or huge waves of discursive thoughts, they have left me with no freedom whatsoever. I have been trapped in samsara all along, experiencing all kinds of suffering. It is truly pitiable. In the process of our practice, it's best to motivate yourself. Some practitioners are indeed very passionate themselves. During the process of their practice, they truly and genuinely feel from the very bottom of their hearts, I should practice. Otherwise, this human life is just so incredibly precious and rare. The Dharma is extremely hard to encounter. Some people, especially those Dharma slickers, seem to feel nothing whether things are good and also feel nothing when things are bad. For such practitioners, it's truly difficult to attain genuine signs of realization. Starting from now, we should genuinely try every single possible way to achieve our goals. From illnesses, which are generally just increasing adverse conditions, and from the vast net of discursive thoughts, we must break free. No one wants to be sick. So likewise, no one wants to be caught in the net of discursive thoughts. We must definitely free ourselves completely from this intricate net of discursive thoughts. So when it comes to such liberation, what is the best method? Contemplate the Buddha, contemplate the Buddha's image. Contemplating the Buddha, even if you visualize for just an instant, brings boundless benefit. There are many worldly benefits and many benefits beyond the world as well. So I suggest to many of you, if you are able to practice some of the highest states of Dzogchen or Mahamudra meditation, it is best. But if you really cannot, then actually practicing the visualization method of Shakyamuni Buddha is the most suitable and carries no risk at all and is completely safe. And it's also the easiest. Just as His Holiness Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche mentioned earlier, if you don't understand Mahamudra or Dzogchen, actually this practice is completely in accord with the practices of Dzogchen and Mahamudra, contemplating the Buddha. If we have studied the Guru's heart essence and the great perfection of supreme wisdom, for example, in the end, we still visualize the Guru or Amitabha Buddha. Many practices are like this. So as it is explained here, when we are troubled more and more by suffering like an illness, if we want to attain liberation from such pain, contemplating the sacred and profound Buddha image truly brings forth boundless and immeasurable spiritual benefit. Therefore, it is of great importance that we should rely even more deeply on visualizing the Buddha's form and presence to diligently practice the profound yogas of calm abiding and special insight. Indeed, we fundamentally rely upon the enlightened Buddha to effectively practice both shamatha and vipassana yoga. And what exactly do we supplicate and earnestly pray for in this spiritual journey? We pray to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and also to the Gurus. May the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, and Gurus bless me to perfect the yogas of calm abiding and special insight. Say this sincerely from your heart. For the 7 days I am practicing the yogas, all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, especially those with whom I have a closer connection, such as Manjushri, Avalokiteshvara, and Shakyamuni Buddha, as well as my lineage gurus and spiritual teachers, you must truly and powerfully bless me, indeed with your grace. Do not let me become distracted or interrupt my practice during this period. Help me not to give up. If I can complete this practice in terms of my life, or rather in terms of my entire existence, it is extremely important. You should give yourself such words of encouragement. In this way, it becomes much easier. In fact, even the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas rely on such causes and conditions to bestow special blessings. In this way, what we often talk about, so-called deluded thoughts turning into Buddha thoughts, this kind of visualization practice is also very important and should be sustained continuously. In the past, in the Samadhi Si Sutra of contemplating the Buddha, it was indeed clearly and explicitly mentioned and specifically recorded. There were also many teachings on contemplating the Buddha. In the Sutra of Contemplation on the Buddha of Infinite Life, there are also many teachings on contemplating the Buddha. Actually, this is very important. I remember in the Samadhi Si Sutra of contemplating the Buddha, there was a prince who was rather heretical and arrogant. Later, there was a bhikshu residing in the royal palace, a place of great importance. The bhikshu encouraged him to practice the Dharma and contemplate the Buddha, but he refused. Later, he said that in a certain stupa or temple, there was an especially beautiful and magnificent Buddha statue. He asked, "Why don't we go take a look, go sightseeing?" The prince was particularly fond of distractions, so he said, "If there's something nice to see, sure, I'll go with you." Then they went together and saw the magnificent form inside the stupa temple. When he saw the truly magnificent form, he was especially delighted and developed a profound and unwavering faith. But after all, he still held wrong views and misconceptions. He still didn't want to pay homage or do anything further. Later, the bhikshu spoke to him again and again. He said, "When you return to the palace, if you really don't want to pay homage to the Buddha, that's fine. Could you at least say, 'Namo Buddha, I pay homage to the Buddha,' expressing your deep reverence?" At that moment, the compassionate prince, considering the bhikshu's feelings, graciously recited the Buddha's name together with him. Because of the immense merit and powerful spiritual energy generated by reciting the Buddha's name, he later purified his karmic obstacles through countless lifetimes. In the very end, he ultimately attained profound samadhi. This was a previous life of bodhisattva of foremost wealth. There is also such a story. So sometimes when we ourselves believe in Buddhism, there are some people around us, and when you try to talk to them about Buddhism, it just doesn't work. In this kind of situation, you can say, "There's something really beautiful to see at a certain place. Why don't we go check it out together? If there's something nice to see, sure, I'll go with you." Then you bring your camera, bring your video recorder, and let's go take a look together. Then, when you arrive at the temple, you say, "Oh, this is the best thing to see." For people with right views and good roots, they might happily and truly accept it. But if someone indeed has wrong views, they might actually get even angrier. It's possible, but we should still make a concerted effort in this particular way, even if it's just allowing them to truly see the dignified and noble image of the Buddha. That is also profoundly important. Here we have many Buddha statues. Some of you should still take a good, thorough look at them when you have the opportune chance to do so. Some people only look at people's faces and not at the Buddha's face, which isn't very good or appropriate either. After all, a human face is fundamentally made up of flesh and bone, and its superficial beauty is often fleeting, whereas the Buddha's face and body are marked by noble and dignified features. Many of us always say, "Ah, this Lama looks so dignified, so incredibly chubby and absolutely so very cute." But we never say, "Wow, Shakyamuni Buddha is so dignified," or "Manjushri Bodhisattva is so dignified. I really like them very much." For example, when I see a particularly beautiful tanka or a particularly exquisite and finely crafted Buddha statue. When I went to India, At that time, it was really very difficult to actually acquire quality metal statues anywhere, because back in 1990 specifically, aside from some rare ancient Buddha statues, there basically weren't any good modern factory-made ones available then. When we went to New Delhi, India, we saw some bronze statues. Actually, the ones sold now at Wuhu Shrine, maybe the technology is even better nowadays. Wow, back then we were especially delighted. Each and every one of us purchased a single item. On the one hand, we truly felt that this particular place was indeed the sacred homeland of the Buddha. On the other hand, wow, such an absolutely incredibly sacred, dignified, and very truly majestic and beautiful form we see. At that time, we were absolutely really desperate to somehow acquire them, no matter what it took. But now, for some of us modern Buddhists, perhaps when it comes to these magnificent Buddha statues, they don't have this feeling. So sometimes we can clearly see that the merit of these Buddha statues is truly immense. So how do we actually practice this in detail? As I mentioned earlier, this kind of mindset is a form of preliminary practice. In this way, wholeheartedly make a strong and determined vow. What kind of strong vow? That is, this time no matter what. Since a human life is so truly hard to obtain, I will indeed rely on the Buddha's statue and practice meditation and contemplation diligently. One should immediately go to a place that is quiet and far from all distractions and dedicate themselves to practice. What kind of quiet place? That is, a place where there are no people coming and going during the day. Not a bustling and noisy place, because it is very difficult to truly develop a calm and peaceful meditative state in such an environment. At night, there should be no disturbing noises either, like the sound of cars for a while, then the sound of machines, then the sound of tractors, then the sound of dogs barking and various other kinds of noise and sounds. For someone practicing meditation, these are like thorny trees for the meditator. They pierce your heart and still have an effect. Logically speaking, in the past, eminent monks and great masters would also go to some quiet places. If it really wasn't possible to find such a place, they might stay in their own retreat rooms, especially those with better sound insulation, their own retreat rooms or meditation spaces, which is also very good. If you can choose such a place where there aren't many people coming and going during the day, then that would be truly ideal. And there aren't any disturbances at night either, including threats from wild animals or fierce beasts. A place where the environment is relatively safe and wonderfully quiet, such a serene place for deep meditation, and sitting comfortably on a soft cushion in such a peaceful place, sitting upright with the dignified and graceful posture of meditation. The cushion should be comfortable, but not too soft. If it's too soft, like some modern spring mattresses, when you sit on it, you sink in, which doesn't seem to work either. If it's too hard, after sitting for a while, it starts to hurt quite a bit, which also doesn't work out. So it should be moderately soft and hard, and the temperature should be just right. On a cushion that is comfortable in all aspects, begin to sit according to the 7-point posture of Vairochana, the posture for resting the mind, and meditate in this way. Then, after completing the preliminary practices, the preliminaries refer to taking refuge and generating bodhicitta mentioned earlier in such a pure environment with all these conditions. This is not referring to the 5 preliminary practices. So what should be done? Place a statue of Shakyamuni Buddha about a single handspan tall approximately. Place it where your eyes can easily, comfortably and naturally gaze upon it with deep peace and tranquility. The Buddha statue I have here should be really quite suitable for this specific purpose we need. We've also made many before carefully over time, and they should be quite like this, right? A handspan should be the precise distance between the actual thumb and middle finger, right in general. Actually, for meditation sessions, this is quite really suitable and appropriate overall. Such a Buddha statue, a very dignified, magnificently golden Buddha statue that shines brilliantly. In fact, when practicing proper visualization techniques carefully, the key points for visualization are explained very clearly here. Place it in front of yourself. And it's best if this Buddha statue is painted by highly skilled professional artists who work meticulously or carefully copied and detailed. That's also fine. The size of the image should be neither too big nor too small for us. If it's too small, of course, when we travel for work on business, Sometimes the support for our visualization is a bit smaller, which is acceptable. In the past, many great masters used very small ones, which also served as supports for visualization. But if we truly want to meditate effectively, I still highly recommend using a Buddha statue of this appropriate size, carefully placed directly in front of yourself for the purpose of meditation. Generally speaking, devout Buddhists will typically get a Buddha statue that is especially suitable for their personal practice and spiritual journey, and carefully place it in their own personal shrine or in the sacred place where they regularly do their spiritual practice. This is also fine, of course. Or, for some beautiful images today, when starting to paint them properly and carefully, they are drawn by hand or on the computer with digital tools. Actually, nowadays, if we practice visualization on the computer very effectively too, after turning on the screen, it is inside. I think that's about right. This size is also quite suitable. But if you look at the computer like this for a long time, I'm not sure if it's good for your eyes. You can also wear other types of protective glasses after properly and respectfully placing the sacred Buddha statue and developing genuine and profound faith in it and recalling the immense blessings of the Buddha. You can also recite some powerful dependent origination mantras yourself. If some monastics or great masters come to consecrate it, that's also very good. If that's really not possible in this situation, it's necessary to practice yourself quite diligently. You can recite the dependent origination mantra 7 or 21 times yourself with focus. After reciting the dependent origination mantra, sprinkle some rice. Then place it in the shrine and begin your meditation practice. Sometimes when we go on retreat, many people wonder, how do I do a retreat? Actually, it's explained very clearly here. The overall size is appropriate. If we read it very carefully and thoroughly, it should become quite clear and understandable indeed. So after the consecration, when placing the image of the Tathagata, it shouldn't be too close or too far away from your eyes. If it's positioned too close, you might not be able to see it clearly. If it's too far, you also can't see it clearly. So everyone should carefully adjust the placement according to their own individual eyesight. Take a moment to truly see what kind of specific place you are, thoughtfully putting it in front of yourself. Your eyes should be comfortably able to look directly and clearly at the entire image. Then, as you attentively look at it, deeply contemplate in this meaningful way. When you are on retreat, place it in front of you. Look at it carefully for a while, then gently close your eyes for a bit and contemplate deeply. How should you contemplate? Just as we discussed yesterday, actually this is truly the authentic form of the Tathagata. Although its material might primarily be bronze, or it might be gold, or it might be a Thangka painting, or even a photograph, there are all kinds. But in reality, what you truly see with your very own eyes is the true form of the Tathagata. There is no real difference whatsoever. Then, what my discriminating mind thinks are the 2 points Mipham Rinpoche talked about yesterday. Everyone should always remember this. If I think of Tathagata, this is Tathagata. The image of the Tathagata I see. This is indeed the very physical form of the Tathagata. This is very important. Actually, this Tathagata is also truly boundless and limitless. There are all kinds appearing before sentient beings. Moreover, the causes for attaining Buddhahood are also inconceivable. Such are the causes for the Buddhahood are formed from inconceivable accumulations of wisdom and merit. The Tathagata, in relation to the entire world, can be said to be like the Udumbara flower. Should we say Udumbara flower here? There might be a slight difference between the ephemeral flower and the Udumbara flower. The Udumbara flower, in our world, is not so easy to encounter. Both the Great Perfection Resting the Nature of Mind commentary and the Word of My Perfect Teacher have discussed this. It only appears in the world on rare occasions. Moreover, such a Buddha possesses the 32 major marks and 80 minor characteristics. It is something that people never tire of looking at. Especially for those who have faith, it is extremely majestic. Of course, for those without faith or devotion, they might even find seeing a Buddha statue annoying. There are such cases that exist. In the past, there was someone, what was his name again? He saw the Buddha's appearance as having 9 kinds of ugly features back then. This is also due to the manifestation of karmic forces. But generally speaking, people with faith all feel great joy upon seeing the Buddha. Actually, this is very important. In the future, when you visit temples and pay homage to Buddha statues, you must look at them with great care and attention. Then gently put your palms together, pray sincerely, and think deeply in your heart. The Buddha truly appeared in our world in the past. It's just that I didn't have the karmic connection to meet him. He really looked just like the images we have of him, just like what I talked about yesterday. I don't know if you read the story of the Great Diligence Bodhisattva yesterday. I gave a general explanation. Did you read it? If you haven't thoroughly read and comprehended the material, then you are simply not allowed to attend class today. If you don't carefully read it yourself and always rely on others to explain it to you, that's really not a good or beneficial approach for your learning, is it? You really have to finish reading it. If you truly want to continue attending the very next class, you absolutely must finish yesterday's important assignment. If you haven't completely finished it, then in tomorrow's class, if you haven't finished reading the inspiring story of the great diligence Bodhisattva, you will unfortunately have to stand throughout the entire duration while I teach the lesson. Is that okay? This kind of punishment. Isn't it just like when students who haven't completed their homework assignments have to stand for the entire time? This story isn't long. Yesterday, I just gave a general overview. Due to time constraints, I asked everyone to read it themselves. If not read by tomorrow, it's very likely those who haven't read the story of the great diligence Bodhisattva will all have to stand during class. That would be so pitiful. 1 hour? It's fine. Standing has its benefits too. First, let me just say to begin, maybe there are some things, but would it be like that? That's also okay. Let's think about it this way. The Buddha really was like this, possessing perfect physical marks. Among humans and heavenly beings in this world, he possessed a truly radiant, luminous, and majestic Buddha form. Sentient beings with the right karmic connection in our Saha world, specifically in India, truly witnessed him in person, directly and clearly, with their own eyes, perceiving his divine presence. I often think about this, especially when I am in India. Places like the Lumbini Garden and the Vajra seat in India. At those times, I still feel a deep sense of sorrow in my heart. The Buddha truly was here once. He personally came to this world and also turned the wheel of Dharma. Those sentient beings with the right karmic connection at that auspicious time were truly able to receive the profound and sacred teachings of the Tathagata. Just as the monk Buddha once said, "When the Buddha was in the world, I was lost in delusion. After the Buddha entered parinirvana, I was born." I repent for the many karmic obstacles of this body, which prevent me from seeing the golden form of the Tathagata. When the Buddha came to India, we were probably still lost in the cycle of samsara. It's rather deeply saddening that we were only born so long after the Buddha entered final parinirvana, completely indeed. So in our hearts, we should probably feel quite genuinely sorrowful about this very unfortunate timing. Back when Prince Siddhartha was just born many centuries ago in India, many sages came to see him at that time. When the sages carefully observed him, many of them immediately said that in the future, Shakyamuni Buddha, if he remained a layperson, would become a wheel-turning king. And if he renounced the household life, he would become a fully enlightened Buddha. They all gave their prophecies in rather ambiguous and somewhat vague language. When giving their prophecies, there was one sage who was especially wise. He didn't say anything at all. When he saw the young Prince Siddhartha, who would become Shakyamuni Buddha, he just kept looking intently at him and then he cried. At that time, King Shuddhodana became a bit worried. He said, "After my prince was born, all the gods and humans have been rejoicing, praising, and celebrating. Why are you crying so profusely like this? Is there something profoundly wrong or amiss with my beloved child? What exactly did this venerable old sage utter in response to these pressing questions and concerns?" He said, "Judging by his auspicious marks, he is unlikely to become a wheel-turning king. He won't stay in the palace for very long. In the future, he will renounce the household life. And after becoming a monk, he will definitely attain Buddhahood. His auspicious marks are quite different from those of a wheel-turning king." In many ways, they are completely different. So, the primary reason he actually cried was not because there was anything inherently wrong with your beloved prince. I did some careful calculations myself, and this is what I found. And by that time, I would have already passed away. When the Buddha attains enlightenment, I will not have the karmic connection to see the Tathagata's noble face. So I was crying for myself. All of us here, sometimes when we take a moment to truly reflect upon it, we feel an immense sense of joy and gratitude to have encountered the precious and profound teachings of the Dharma. But sometimes when we come into this world, I also feel quite sad. For example, I was fortunate enough to meet my precious guru and to see his noble face. It was a deeply meaningful experience. But later, some of the newly converted and newly ordained, I also feel a bit of genuine regret on your behalf. I often think deeply about these young people and their futures. Their level of practice in all aspects are quite good, but it's a pity they never got to meet the precious guru. In my mind, the Buddha, perhaps Shakyamuni Buddha, and the precious guru are really no different from each other. I feel that whoever has the karmic fortune to see him, even if they saw him with an impure mind, would still have a very distinct and quite different feeling indeed. Some lay practitioners often say to me, "Back when you were in such and such a place, if I had met the precious guru, it really seems that such a person is truly blessed. Such an extraordinary bodhisattva, when he came to this world to turn the wheel of Dharma, to have the fortune to meet him in person, is also an extremely rare and auspicious connection. The Buddha expounded the Dharma extensively for sentient beings and also manifested all kinds of miraculous powers. At all times, walking, standing, sitting, lying down are for the benefit of sentient beings. In fact, just as stated in 400 verses, the Buddha, every breath in and out was entirely for the benefit of sentient beings. There was nothing not for the benefit of sentient beings, whether manifesting wrath or appearing in forms. It was all for the profound benefit of all sentient beings. In this compassionate way, he diligently matured countless sentient beings. Yesterday, when I was speaking, I was a bit pressed for time, and by the very end of my presentation, I was feeling a little bit tired and quite exhausted. I think you all might have felt the same way listening. But now, your overall demeanor while attentively listening to the Dharma is actually quite good. Even some lay practitioners who have just arrived, their attitude towards listening to the teachings is different from before. In the past, except for some truly dedicated and devout Dharma friends from our mountain valley who were genuinely committed, generally during Dharma assemblies at this time, some lay practitioners didn't understand the etiquette of listening to the Dharma at all. In this regard, indeed, over the past few years, everyone's diligent study, thoughtful contemplation, and consistent practice have truly shown remarkably great results. I hope that during the process of study, contemplation, and practice, there may be some obstacles and difficulties, but you must continue to study, contemplate, and practice without stopping. Don't give up just because of a very simple reason. Actually, truly studying, contemplating, and then practicing at a Dharma center is not much different from doing so at home, as long as you have confidence in this regard. There shouldn't be a big difference. Nowadays, in many ways, things are quite convenient. Therefore, as devoted Buddhists, we must conscientiously seize this precious opportunity. Otherwise, if you genuinely desire to become a monastic completely, nowadays, the pressures from family and societal expectations are also quite significantly high. If you choose to become a monastic, whether you can carry out all the actions of monastic life from beginning to end smoothly is also hard to say. It might be better to remain a devout Buddhist layperson and fulfill all your responsibilities in life. This is precisely why the Buddha has countless methods to truly benefit all sentient beings throughout the vast expanse of existence. Our great master, the fundamental teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, Shakyamuni the Lion King, was born into the Shakya clan. Later, he manifested the profound and ultimate attainment of Buddhahood throughout his life. All 12 deeds of his life, from his birth, apprenticeship in various skills, and his participation in various competitions, to truly enjoying the profound pleasures of the royal palace, and then finally renouncing the worldly realm, diligently practicing rigorous austerities, ultimately attaining supreme enlightenment, and subsequently turning the great wheel of Dharma and ultimately manifesting complete parinirvana, and so on. All of these were indeed profound manifestations by the Buddha in our world of sentient beings. Moreover, at Vulture Peak and other places, at Vulture Peak, Deer Park, and various other locations, for the assembly of bodhisattvas and the assembly of shravakas, he also taught the Dharma to sentient beings of different capacities. This is how we should think in our hearts. The Buddha truly turned the wheel of Dharma in India. He really did so in those very places, and these events truly happened there. Regarding these experiences of the Blessed One, we also need to carefully contemplate and thoroughly visualize each and every one of them. How exactly did he attain Buddhahood, and how did he truly benefit all sentient beings? As you reflect, think about the many stories told in the sutras about the Buddha. In fact, when we meditate on the Buddha's image, nowadays, most people, when they sit in meditation, don't think about anything at all. Especially in Han regions, when many people talk about meditation, they just sit there like this the whole time. Actually, this is acceptable. But most importantly, just as Mipham Rinpoche said, there is analytical meditation and stabilizing meditation. When practicing analytical meditation, we can all think in this way and continue to contemplate like this. Such a sublime and wonderful form of the Tathagata now appears before my eyes as this image. This image in front of us is actually the true and authentic appearance of the revered Shakyamuni Buddha himself. The Tathagata has long since perfected the precepts and meditative concentration, as well as the wisdom of liberation and so on, countless, boundless, and undefiled qualities. Moreover, with a heart of great loving kindness and compassion, he embraces us sentient beings of the degenerate age in this 500-year era of impurity, and for these beings he has undertaken countless ascetic practices. In this very life, the Buddha practiced austerities for 6 years, which is an ascetic practice universally acknowledged by all of us. Even more importantly, for countless eons in the past, just as I mentioned yesterday, the Buddha, for each and every sentient being, including a place in Deer Park, India, he has given away his head, eyes, brain, and marrow countless times. Just like in the ancient and profound story of King Moonlight, which is explained very clearly and comprehensively in the revered Sutra of Wise and Foolish. Actually, these stories, whether from the extensive biography of the Buddha or the stories of Bodhisattva Asvaghosha, as well as many other biographies and stories of the Buddha, everyone must not treat them as mere myths or legends or simply as fictional tales, because people nowadays, whenever something goes a bit beyond their own history or completely surpasses their current way of thinking, they tend to treat it as a mere myth or as an old legend or a simple rumor, nothing more than that. This kind of thinking is indeed very unscientific and lacks a solid foundation. So those individuals who truly and deeply understand the profound teachings can, through carefully considering these intricate storylines, gradually develop an unwavering, steadfast, and genuinely strong faith in the Buddha. Then they begin to reflect on their actions and their consequences. His pure and truly perfect, undefiled merit and very great virtue are also truly, indeed, truly inconceivable. Just as we discussed earlier, not in our previous text, but in the second chapter of the extensive biography of the Buddha, it has already been explained that at the very beginning the Brahmin Haichin aroused his profound bodhicitta in front of the magnificent Tathagata of treasures. From the very moment he initially gave rise to this noble intention, all the way to the very end. Throughout the entire arduous journey, he also faced all kinds of significant hardships. From the very beginning, when the Brahmin Haichin first gave rise to this earnest intention, until he finally attained Buddhahood, there were countless hardships and ordeals. Over 3 countless eons, he diligently practiced the 6 perfections and myriad virtuous deeds, accumulating merit and wisdom, amassing inconceivable wisdom and merit. He was able to transcend all obstacles, destroy the 4 kinds of maras, and ultimately perfect all qualities and virtues. He attained the profound wisdom that truly knows the inherent nature of all phenomena. And until the end of cyclic existence, he continues to serve as the refuge and protector for all sentient beings, or in other words, an impartial and unfailing friend. So all of this is something we should reflect on deeply ourselves. The entire experience is very much like when we sometimes sit down to watch captivating movies or engaging TV shows, and during these moments, some people can't help but keep thinking, what was I like when I was a child? What exactly happened in the middle, for example, in a captivating movie? When someone thoughtfully looks back on the entire historical progression, each scene can appear one after another. So when we truly and deeply contemplate the profound story of the Buddha, we should also do so with a very devout and peaceful mind indeed. Set aside all other formalities and distractions. Keep focusing on our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, and think about how he has treated us sentient beings in so many ways. Recall all the experiences you learned and understood. If you really can't remember on your own, then you can prepare some biographies of the Buddha or prepare some stories about the Buddha and read while contemplating at the same time. Read a section, then reflect in this way again. In this way, the power of such practice is very strong. It's certainly not like some individuals in academia nowadays who just casually underline something, then perhaps look up a word in a dictionary and subsequently take a quick photo. It's absolutely not like that at all. It's a much more involved and thoughtful process. This academic way of studying is completely different from the way we practitioners truly study. They are entirely different. He became the protector of all sentient beings, and indeed all living creatures. And such a supremely noble Tathagata, whether we truly and sincerely recollect him, pay our homage to him, and recite his sacred name or not, or gaze upon his image, or single-mindedly visualize him and so on, even if we perform the smallest virtuous deed, it can also truly become an extremely precious and profound cause for enlightenment. This too is due to the inconceivable power of the Tathagata's sacred vows, as well as the boundless power of his wisdom. We should carefully consider this important truth. When we are in front of the Tathagata, even if we just make 3 sincere prostrations at night, or perhaps recite homage to Shakyamuni Buddha, or simply recall him deeply in our hearts, or recite Om Muni Muni Mahamunaye Soha, or just look at a Buddha image. His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche has a special method of bestowing the Shakyamuni Buddha empowerment to plant virtuous roots, called the meditation method for planting the virtuous roots of liberation. In fact, all those who see, hear, or come into contact with it, as it is said, if someone with a distracted mind enters a stupa or temple and utters once, Namo Buddha, all will attain Buddhahood. If the mind is distracted, as we all know, some people say that being distracted brings no merit. It's not the case. Even if the mind is distracted, there is merit in reciting mantras as well. There is also merit in making prostrations. Of course, some people are more strict in their requirements. Patrul Rinpoche states in The Words of My Perfect Teacher that improper visualization is futile and yields no benefit. But in reality, it just means the merit is relatively weak. It is impossible for it to be completely without benefit. Truly speaking, even if we recite the name of the Blessed One just once, make just one single prostration or circumambulate around once, such merit is still extremely rare and truly precious. Therefore, we really should rejoice again and again that we have been given such an extraordinary and a truly auspicious opportunity. It can really be said that we are truly and indeed people of very great merit. As the old saying quite often goes, those who live in actual fortune often do not fully realize their own true fortune. Indeed, sometimes when we reflect in this life of ours, it seems that everyone has all kinds of different troubles. Some people are unhappy with their appearance. Some individuals suffer from various illnesses, while others lack guru mu, meaning they possess no money at all. For some, family relationships are not good. Some individuals experience significant difficulties at work, and some simply do not possess a truly good state of mind. Some people are very often in a consistently bad mood, some exhibit a rather bad temper, and so on. In actual fact, if we carefully look at it from the perspective of negative emotions, then there are still many things that are not good. But if we look at it from a positive perspective, we have still encountered the authentic Dharma of Shakyamuni Buddha, and moreover, we have come across images of the Buddha. This is also a very fortunate thing. This is something I often think about myself, although I have never seen the true form of the Buddha in person. But I have met some teachers who are truly like the Buddha, and I have encountered images of the Buddha. I personally think this is very important. In the Samadhi Sutra on contemplating the Buddha, it is also said, because of not seeing the Buddha, one commits all kinds of evil deeds. Those who have not seen the image of the Buddha will engage in evil actions. Such people should truly contemplate the Buddha's sacred image. These individuals should indeed contemplate the Buddha's divine image. If one contemplates the image, it is no different from contemplating my actual body. Contemplating the serene and profound image of the Buddha is truly no different whatsoever from deeply contemplating my own inherent and authentic true form. I think this statement is very important. Nowadays, some Buddhists as well seem to lack respect for Buddha images. They do not regard Buddha images as the real Buddha. Some people, however, place great emphasis on so-called gurus. Guru, you are truly our beloved guru, aren't you really? When exactly did you truly become a spiritual guru? Are you truly my most dear beloved and very precious root guru? They pay more special attention to gurus very always quite indeed. Some experienced gurus might be even better. Some gurus it's really quite hard to say for sure. Sometimes keeping a respectful distance is better. If you get closer and closer to them, they also indeed have all sorts of ailments. If you spend some period of time together with them, you might not even want to be with this guru, so perhaps it's better not to. Although in theory we say to regard the guru as the Buddha, that's the teaching. But if we have faith in the Buddha, even just a Buddha image, it's really not easy to develop wrong views toward it at all. You don't have to worry about whether it's happy today or not, nor do you have to deal with its often unpredictable and sometimes challenging moods. You also don't have to worry about whether it's treating you badly today, or tomorrow, or all sorts of other troubles. Actually, Buddha images, especially in the degenerate age, as mentioned earlier in the Buddhist scriptures. The Samadhi Sutra of contemplating the Buddha is very important in Chinese Buddhism. It was originally translated by the esteemed Buddhabhatta during the Eastern Jin dynasty. It should be considered quite important. I asked them, and it seems that in English, so far there isn't a translation available. The Samadhi Sutra of contemplating the Buddha describes many methods for contemplating Buddha images. These are also very important. We have not had the chance to truly encounter the actual body of Shakyamuni Buddha, which is indeed very unfortunate and deeply saddening, but we are truly fortunate enough to be able to clearly see various images of Shakyamuni Buddha, Whether it's a magnificent bronze statue or a gleaming gold one, if you truly have the financial means and resources available, you should try to acquire a relatively good quality Buddha image. This is also very important. For example, whether it's in your own shrine or within your temple, some individuals choose to wear designer brands that can cost tens of thousands of yuan, but their Buddha statue only costs a mere 300 yuan. I personally think that's a bit... I have observed that some Buddhists are actually quite financially well off. But the Buddha statues they acquire are rather plain and simple in design. In this case, isn't it making the Buddha seem too simple? You yourself are currently wearing, and I've heard your designer bag also costs tens of thousands of yuan, a truly significant sum. So, in this particular case, you are placing a simple, humble 100 yuan Buddha statue inside a luxurious, high-end bag that is worth tens of thousands of yuan, creating a striking contrast. Maybe you should truly and carefully elevate its value a bit, right? In certain important aspects, if you really don't have the means for this at all, a stone Buddha statue is also fine, and a wooden Buddha statue is fine too. Just like it says in the letter to a friend, even something very simple is perfectly acceptable. If you do have the means, whether it's in your own Dharma center or your own Buddha hall, you can invite a magnificent gold or a shimmering silver Buddha statue, or alternatively, a resplendent golden Buddha statue. I don't really know if there are any actual diamond Buddha statues that truly exist. All right, if we truly don't know, then let's just leave it at that point. I honestly don't know either. As you visualize and deeply contemplate in this profound way, you also recollect the enlightened Buddha and at the same time generate firm faith. Is there anything else that we really need to pay close attention to? When visualizing and recollecting the Buddha image, the mind that visualizes the image and its merit should not be too tense nor too loose. It should be perfectly well balanced and in complete harmony. Be sure to maintain continuous focus on the Buddha image with proper mindfulness and awareness. If we are too focused, that can also cause problems. If we are too relaxed, we won't be able to practice successfully either. Neither too tight nor too loose. One must possess right view. Machig Labdran the Dakini also taught this. Our practice is exactly the same way. In absolutely anything and everything we do, we must always avoid all extremes. Our faith cannot be extreme. Don't put all your faith, all released at the very beginning. When some enthusiastic newcomers come to the Grand Dharma Assembly, they exclaim, "Wow, this is so incredibly exciting." But if you completely release all your boundless energy and enthusiasm right away, after the Dharma Assembly, I won't have the strength anymore. This is truly not good either. Please do not get overly excited at the very beginning of this process. In the end, you can't be too indifferent. I have actually met many Buddhists like this. I thought about it 10 years ago when this person was excited. When his entire expression comes vividly and clearly to my mind, sometimes I even feel a little bit shaken. And now, seeing what these very same people have truly become, I also feel a profound sense of sadness. Of course, everything in this vast and ever-changing world is inherently impermanent. There is no truly unchanging phenomena, no fixed or permanent truth. But still, in anything we do, for example, in our practice, we absolutely cannot afford to be too tense or rigid. If you are too diligent, it's easy to have problems. But if you are too relaxed, you won't make any progress at all. That's not okay either. Everything should have a sense of moderation. Neither too tight nor too loose, one must possess right view. This is a very profoundly important Pith instruction that was given by the great Machig Labdron. Apart from simply visualizing the Buddha, there should be no other discursive thoughts at all. Actually, when we recite the Buddha's name now, if observing the character of recite in Chinese above is now and below is heart, which means that the present mind is focused on the Buddha. In this way, it is truly the mind itself reciting the name of the Buddha, not just simply reciting Amitabha with the mouth while the mind is scattered and unfocused. Shouting until your throat is completely hoarse and your voice gives out is ultimately in vain and serves no true spiritual purpose. If we don't think well and maintain a clear, concentrated mind, merely uttering Amitabha or chanting Om Benza Sattva Hum will not yield the desired spiritual benefits or inner peace. In this case, this merit is also... Yes, there are certain merits, but in true reality, actually, for example, it is also very important for us to always chant Vajrasattva properly. We ask that every year we repent for the karma we have accumulated since time immemorial. Everyone should recite it 400,000 times. This Sunday, I also want to briefly talk to everyone about how to further practice visualization and various important and effective methods of confession. In the past, I basically asked everyone to recite it 15 days or a month in advance. but this year I forgot. Some time ago, I also went to celebrate Children's Day on June 1st, and then I completely forgot. For more than 10 long years now, every single time June comes around, I get a little bit excited, filled with a sense of anticipation. Consequently, I end up forgetting a great many truly meaningful and significant things, important details and cherished memories that should have been retained. But we still have a few days left now. Everyone can recite the Vajrasattva mantra. It truly doesn't matter where you are located, it's all essentially the same. Anywhere on this earth, be it the east, the west, the south, or the north, is perfectly fine. As long as our hearts are connected and our aspirations are united, it's all possible. The power of this interdependent origination all gathers together. As I mentioned before, for those of the highest capacity, within the 7 days of the Sagadawa month, recite the Vajrasattva mantra 400,000 times. For those of medium capacity, about a month is needed. If that's still not possible, then around 100 days. Can you recite the Vajrasattva mantra 400,000 times? Actually, 400,000 recitations is not that many. If you recite it diligently, many people can finish within 7 days. So every year, for us, it's very much like how some individuals diligently get a comprehensive physical checkup now, each and every time performing some essential health maintenance for their entire body in various and diverse ways. If we were to leave this world, all of our previous negative karma will be completely purified and cleansed. Actually, each of us should, whether you have faith or not, even if you have become a monastic or have taken lay precepts, you have still made many, many faults. After all, we are sentient beings of the desire realm. In Jambudvipa, it's impossible not to make mistakes. But through the practice of Vajrasattva recitation, we truly can purify our misdeeds. And just as we discussed today, if you visualize yourself in front of Vajrasattva Buddha or in front of a statue of Shakyamuni Buddha, and then wholeheartedly engage in the practice of confession and repentance, then this is truly a very wonderful and meaningful thing indeed. I hope everyone will always sincerely engage in deep confession and repentance regularly. Let the Buddha be your only true witness and guide. If you consistently practice in this dedicated way over a sustained period of time, your mind will gradually be able to continuously and effortlessly focus on the chosen object of meditation. In summary, if we carefully use the established framework of the 9 stages of mental abiding, and are able to achieve the profound single-pointed concentration of the desire realm, we should diligently and consistently engage in the aforementioned spiritual practices and endeavors. Meditating on the Buddha in this way is extremely sublime. When visualizing, we can clearly visualize the general form of the Tathagata, the enlightened one, or we can focus on specific aspects, just as we discussed earlier, in order to attain some supramundane holy accomplishment, or to eliminate certain drowsiness. We can focus our mind on the Buddha's crown protuberance, starting from the Ushnisha at the top. Because the Ushnisha is formed from an immense accumulation of merit, we can visualize in this way. Alternatively, in order to attain meditative equipoise and eliminate some restlessness, we can also focus our mind on the auspicious swastika at the Buddha's heart center. It is also possible to also visualize the Buddha's heart center in this way. Or, if we wish to accomplish certain practices, indeed, and thereby gain great merit and great happiness, we can also focus our mind on the white urna between the Buddha's eyebrows, which is like a right-turning white conch shell. According to the Buddhist scriptures, the white urna, if pulled out, is actually very long. It is naturally and inherently formed from profound merit. If it is gently let down, it naturally and gracefully curls up on its own accord. This truly is a rather unique and remarkable quality of the Buddha. It also serves to let the wondrous sound spread everywhere, so that all sentient beings may fully receive the benefit of the Dharma. The mind can also be single-pointedly focused on the very source of the 60 kinds of wondrous sounds, the Buddha's throat. That is to say, there are indeed 3 distinct conch-shaped lines present there. Generally speaking, it is also perfectly acceptable to meditate upon the Buddha's throat. No matter which method you choose, as long as it suits your own inclination, and you focus your mind on any one of the Buddha's physical features, it is completely and truly and very acceptable. Because when we practice the profound Vajrasattva meditation, when practicing the Vajrasattva practice in the preliminary practices, sometimes we focus on his ritual implements, sometimes we focus on his entire white body, and sometimes we focus on the ornaments of his Sambhogakaya form. In the same way, when we meditate, sometimes you contemplate the qualities of the Tathagata, sometimes you contemplate the qualities of his present physical form, And sometimes you contemplate deeply how, over countless eons of time, he has indeed performed such and such profound merits for us, and so on, think in this very way. So I think that in this comprehensive and ongoing process, since there may still be some additional and relevant content coming up later in the sequence, no matter how you visualize the previously presented details, it's absolutely fine and perfectly acceptable. Just focus your mind on our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, and then let's rest in that for a full 3 minutes quietly and mindfully. Everyone can now take a moment to practice this exercise a little bit. See which meditation method works for you, because we just learned this earlier. I truly believe that everyone will fully understand this concept. Next, we will carefully consider this particular kind of meditative contemplation. Now, let's thoroughly discuss the 5 distinct types of experiences. These 5 types of experiences are profoundly important in the entire process of practice. At the very beginning, it's truly like holding a wild, untamed snake in our hands. At first, it's quite difficult to properly tame and control it. No matter what practice we are doing, it's always like this. The mind is a bit impatient. Discursive thoughts are very rapid, coarse, and so on. So what is this? This is what we truly call the very first important meditation stage here, actually. The experience of constant agitation, like rushing water powerfully falling from a steep cliff below with force, like water falling from a cliff, like a waterfall such as Niagara Falls in Canada. The water in many waterfalls is especially turbulent. Our discursive thoughts are just like that. At the very beginning, no matter who is practicing, many people say, I'm not successful in my practice. What should I do? My discursive thoughts are too strong. Actually, you have never truly settled your mind. So at the beginning, you will definitely experience this. This is called the experience of agitation, just like a waterfall. At this time, you should think like this. My mind is constantly in a state of instability. So it's inevitable for this kind of situation to occur. Since beginningless time, we ordinary people have always had a lot of discursive thoughts. Just as it is said in the Sublime Alms Question Sutra, the mind is like electricity, wind, clouds, and the waves of the ocean, scattering outward at will in an instant. This restless and confused mind can actually really be tamed. As long as we make the effort to do so, the mind can be completely tamed. Indeed, it can. Although our mind is like a wild monkey, like a flash of lightning, like the wind and like clouds, you see, clouds disappear in an instant and then reappear just as quickly. Our mind is the same, one moment virtuous, the next negative. But if we practice over the long term, it truly does become quite easy to tame indeed. If we don't practice, it's the same as before. If we just study a bit of theory and debate every day, then our minds definitely can't be tamed. It's actually normal for the mind to be like this. And every sentient being is controlled by these scattered and discriminating thoughts. Where is there any so-called freedom? How can ordinary beings have freedom? Without practice, there definitely isn't any. I see that many people really do love to practice. Practice is still very important. Listening and contemplation are also very important. But practice is still necessary. If we only have listening and contemplation without practice, it's truly very difficult to deal with our own afflictions. So we should do our best and not be lazy. We should strive diligently in our practice. Laziness is very much a troublesome thing. If we are lazy and keep procrastinating, we won't be able to practice the most important teachings. Not only will we be unable to practice the Dharma, but also, within our own mind streams, all sorts of wrong views and mistaken thoughts often arise. As it is said in the Mahaprajnaparamita Shastra, I believe, the mind of laziness burns up all virtues. A lazy mind will destroy all accumulated merit. It's like a truly great and powerful fire, burning through vast forests and expansive fields, just like the recent widespread and destructive wildfires that have occurred in the United States and Canada, which can incinerate entire mountains and vast forests. All the wild natural forests and green woodlands across the mountain can be completely burned to ashes. Laziness is truly the greatest enemy. If someone is genuinely lazy, in fact, it's very difficult to consistently practice and make progress. So everyone should truly be a little bit more diligent. Don't spend every single day just eating or drinking and doing absolutely nothing else, or just chatting or watching some movies, or spending the entire day online completely engrossed and playing with your mobile phone. As Buddhists, that's really quite a significant pity indeed. There are already so many causes for distraction nowadays. If we continue to be lazy like this, then in this very life, let alone attaining realization, it's possible that even at the time of death, you won't have the comfort of liberation. So although it's a bit difficult for us to be completely free from laziness, because we live in a world full of distractions, but as Buddhists, we should still have some expectations for ourselves. Every day we should set some standards for ourselves. Why do I try my best to give classes? It's a very effective and important way of self-control. No matter what, you are truly in charge. Whenever I go out, I try my best to force myself to schedule a class. If I do it this way, then I have no choice but to teach. When the time comes, and also when I return, except in special circumstances, this is a kind of self-imposed discipline. Otherwise, it seems like there are many causes for distraction that arise. So now, many Dharma friends down the mountain are the same. Some of them keep studying continuously. With study, there is also the pressure from the group. Everyone will ask, why didn't you come to this class? What happened to you? Did something happen at home recently? Why didn't you come? In this way, people still feel a certain pressure. I'm the same way. If I don't teach a class, I also feel pressured. This is actually very important. As for ourselves, we shouldn't listen to our discriminating thoughts. If you listen to those negative thoughts, you'll never truly want to practice. Discriminating thoughts are very mischievous indeed, right? If someone truly perseveres with diligence like this, then in the future, there will be nothing that cannot be accomplished. As it says in the Bodhicariyavatara, if, after long practice, one still cannot succeed, then such a thing simply does not exist. Anything can be accomplished as long as you keep practicing it. On one hand, contemplate correctly. On the other, quietly make aspirations. Persistently and for a long time, keep your mind as focused as possible on the Buddha image, and with time, you will succeed. As for those coarse and obvious thoughts from before, as well as the intense and rapid discriminating thoughts, they will gradually disappear little by little. This is indeed the very first stage. Speaking of the initial stage, actually, within the 9 stages of abiding the mind, there are initial placement, continuous placement, and repeated placement. In the very first experience, you are basically able to settle your mind and feel at ease. These are the 3 established methods. However, a profoundly significant and new stage will appear. What exactly is this new stage? In this particular and crucial stage, a much greater number of incredibly subtle and highly numerous discriminating thoughts will begin to arise and manifest themselves. This is what's called the second stage. You experience it like the flow of water in a mountain valley. This kind of experience is like the flowing water in a deep mountain valley, so vast and powerfully rushing with great force. But compared to water rapidly falling off a cliff, its flow is also noticeably much slower. That's simply why this metaphor is often used. At this time, through continuous practice, if you consistently keep settling your mind and diligently practice in this profound way to a certain advanced stage, the discriminating thoughts that inevitably arise within your mind, which were previously as turbulent and restless as a powerful torrent of water falling dramatically off a towering cliff, will also gradually and steadily slow down. At that point, the mind can basically settle and find its peace. This corresponds to near abiding and tamed abiding among the 9 stages of abiding the mind. If you use the 4th and 5th methods of abiding the mind, which were mentioned earlier, you can settle your mind here and now. Then, at this very point in time, if you observe more closely and attentively, subtle discriminating thoughts will continually keep flashing up within your mind. This is precisely what is called the 3rd stage, the meditative experience, much like the gentle, continuous flow of a river. The river flows slowly, steadily, and without interruption. Seeing from a distance, it seems as if you completely cannot perceive that it is moving at all. However, if you carefully observe it from the perspective of the riverbank, you will clearly see that it still has different currents. Just like our discriminating thoughts, if you look at it broadly, it seems as if there are no discriminating thoughts at all. But if you look more closely, there are some subtle flickers within. At this point, among the 9 methods of abiding the mind, it should correspond to the concepts of quiet abiding and most quiet abiding, and the 6th and 7th stages are precisely settled here. I think I mentioned this at Yale or somewhere else, about combining the 9 methods of abiding the mind with meditative experiences. And also, in our general explanation of the great magical net, there are also extensive and profound explanations on this significant topic. Especially within the 8th chapter of the Bodhicharyavatara, there are very detailed and comprehensive expositions. If you continue to diligently and persistently persevere, you will no longer experience the kind of suffering you had during earlier stages of practice. Previously, when we practiced, sometimes it was very painful and distressing, and also particularly exhausting. But at this stage, practice is basically carried out with great joy. At this crucial point, diligence can truly enter the correct and proper path. After practicing in this way, subtle discriminating thoughts gradually disappear. You can focus your mind on any chosen object and remain settled there for a long time. Especially external distractions can no longer shake the stability of your settled mind at all. At this point, you enter the 4th stage. What is it called? It is the stable experience, like the ocean free from waves. This is the 4th, the stable experience. Due to time constraints today, I won't elaborate further, but I still hope you all will study these carefully, because in the process of our practice, if you don't practice, it has nothing to do with you. If you just play around every day, these experiences have nothing to do with you. They don't care about you, and you don't care about them. But for us practitioners, they are still very important. As for us, well, it seems I'm not really a practitioner either. But when I say us practitioners, I truly do practice. I genuinely feel that I'm certainly not the absolute worst, but also definitely not the very best. At this point, the mind has already settled completely and is very stable. That's why this analogy is used. Within this, when the mind is abiding, it is focused on a single object, the 8th method of abiding the mind. After that, there is no longer a need for strenuous effort. If you persist and continue practicing for a long time, you will eventually reach the 5th stage. This is the ultimate realization, as stable as a great mountain. At this particular point in time, the full realization has already been completely achieved. This profound realization and effortless action can also be perfectly and seamlessly integrated. No matter where you focus your mind, it can naturally and effortlessly merge into this profound Dharma. Whether you are contemplating a Buddha image or meditating, whatever you focus on, it becomes especially easy. For those individuals who effortlessly attain a profound sense of lightness and ease, wherever their mind happens to wander, it is perfectly fine, and if it chooses to abide, that is also perfectly fine. However, at this present moment, our minds are not quite like this. They're like a 3 or 4-year-old child. If you ask them to sit still, they get up. If you ask them to get up, they sit down. If we try to make our mind settle, it scatters outward. If we let it scatter, it starts to slowly draw back, gradually becoming quite tired and deeply sinking. At this crucial point, if the mind can naturally and clearly abide in this profound Dharma, no discursive thoughts can disturb it. This is what is called single-pointedness of mind in the desire realm. At this time, the mind can abide steadily. Various different experiences may arise at this stage. Because within this stage, all miraculous powers and merits can arise. Those who have studied Abhidharmakosha know this. If one attains this meditative state, any kind of merit can manifest. If you abide and practice in this state, you can truly attain a state of physical and mental lightness and ease. If you can achieve this lightness and ease of body and mind, when you truly focus your mind on just a single point, your body and mind can easily remain without fatigue for a very long time. If of us are able to attain this physical and mental lightness, whether spreading Dharma and benefiting sentient beings or doing anything, there seems to be no sense of fatigue. This is what is called physical and mental lightness and ease. The whole body becomes as soft and pliant as cotton. Moreover, the mind is also filled with clarity and happiness. It is not you are frowning and troubled all day long, feeling unwell today, suffering tomorrow, or feeling sad today, or getting inexplicably angry and erupting like thunder. It's not like that. If you attain this wonderful lightness and effortless ease, every single day you'll be smiling brightly and feeling truly cheerful. Always like the laughing Maitreya Buddha. If you haven't truly attained this kind of lightness and ease, actually whether someone's spiritual practice is really good or not, you'll know after spending some time with them. If someone has good practice after being around them for a while, the whole surrounding atmosphere becomes especially joyful and pleasant. They bring happiness to everyone they meet. But if someone's practice is not good, if you spend just one single night with them, or even just share a simple meal with them, they bring a different kind of contagion to everyone around them. So you really can tell that they are having a significant impact. Some so-called practitioners. Why are some people truly remarkable and genuinely admirable, while others are disliked by everyone? The fundamental reason still has to do with their own personal practice. If you can attain this lightness and ease, then, at first, your entire body will feel quite heavy and very stable and secure, with sensations that are different, almost like a corpse. If you continue to practice, eventually all these mental fabrications are extinguished. At that special point, you will feel as incredibly light, very pure, and completely effortless as a gentle shadow floating peacefully. Your whole body and mind will feel especially refreshed, relaxed, and at ease. Practitioners may also experience states similar to those in proper meditative concentration. This is called the arising of calm abiding. What is calm abiding? Sometimes it's hard for us to understand. It's explained very clearly here. Only this kind of practice can truly be called calm abiding, because it is called a mind of pliancy and ease. This kind of mind belongs to the preliminary concentration of the first dhyana. Those who have studied the Abhidharma Kosha will know this. Before entering true meditative absorption, there is this preliminary concentration within the desire realm. Anyone who attains this calm abiding mind, whether meditative absorption with form or the formless practice of emptiness, no matter what, there is nothing cannot be practiced. Everything can be cultivated, and it's very easy once you have single-pointed concentration in the desire realm. According to the principles of meditation, if your mind can truly settle down, then you can practice calm abiding. You can practice insight meditation or meditate on emptiness. You can meditate on a Buddha image. Good at practice cultivate anything. Those who are not good at practice find everything troublesome. They even find it very painful to attend a single class. Originally, practicing calm abiding requires 4 types of attention and 6 powers, as well as 8 antidotes and many other supporting methods. These are necessary. But if you can truly gather your mind with right mindfulness and clear awareness, and if we use a Buddha image as the object of meditation, then through such practice, the 5 experiences will naturally arise. This approach can encompass all the requirements mentioned above and cover everything completely. So if you meditate using a Buddha image, then all of the other forms of practice and other related activities will naturally be accomplished as well, without any special effort. Just as it is profoundly stated in the Bodhicharyavatara, the 4 distinct types of attention, the 6 powerful spiritual powers, the 8 effective antidotes, and so on, are all crucial elements. There is no need to practice them individually, one by one. When you achieve this kind of calm abiding, because the mind becomes capable, the body will also become deeply nourished, wonderfully smooth, and beautifully radiant. It will be filled with immense happiness and vibrant strength. These characteristics will manifest. The mind will also be pure and unstained, and freely carry out numerous activities. The body and mind will be filled with boundless joy. But what is truly the most precious thing of all? It is the reduction of afflictive emotions. To judge whether one's practice is good, see if one's afflictions have decreased. To judge whether one is eating well, see if there is a healthy glow on the cheeks. But nowadays it's hard to tell because people put on all sorts of things on their faces. In Tibetan area, we often like to say, to judge whether someone's practice is good, look at their afflictions. The clear sign of truly hearing the Dharma is that the body and mind become gentle and truly pliant. If you have listened to a great deal of teachings, your body and mind will become much more gentle and pliant. And if your practice is very good, your afflictions will decrease. Moonlamp Sutra says, when the mind isn't agitated, one attains sacred bliss independent of food. When mind is free from afflictions, one attains the happiness of noble ones. When body and mind are cool and clear, this is the benefit of meditative absorption and meditation. Meditative concentration is very beneficial for our body and mind. Everyone practices meditation, and if you can meditate on the Buddha, as Buddhists I hope, it is better to use Buddha image as object meditation. Otherwise, some Buddhists just sit there without thinking about anything at all, which may be beneficial or it may not be. You see, it says here, especially in terms of reducing afflictions, one experiences a feeling similar to great inner bliss. By relying on these various states of calm abiding and visualizing the Buddha's power of merit, and in addition, with the blessing power of the Buddha, some practitioners are able to directly perceive or see in a state of meditative experience, or encounter the Tathagata in dreams, and even hear the Dharma teachings. There are immeasurable merits that can arise within one's own mind stream. Therefore, through meditation practice, indeed, each and every person truly attains different and unique merits. This is very important and significant for all of us. That's all for today's teaching, and thank you for your kind attention.
Om